Hey everyone, so I just wanted to do a talkie video, just to converse more with you guys. Recently kind of binge watching this one channel is called Retail Archaeology, and it's just going over like major retail department stores that have been closing down in like the past couple years. And it, even though this is kind of not on the same topic, except for one of them, I did work for a big department store. Um, it just reminded me of like my first jobs, and then just some of the funny cliche things. Now I'll try and keep this short. I've had quite a few jobs over the years, with my first real job starting when I was 18, almost 19, in college. Um, and then real quick before I begin this video, yes, it's another talkie video, but honest to God, I have 3 tutorials lined up to come out. I'll tell you, it's not a surprise, so you know what to expect before Halloween comes up. I'm going to be Helen Sharp, and for Halloween, the one where she's in the red sweater and she has the hole in her stomach. I'm going to be showing you how to make that full costume, partially tutorial, partial just styled together. So I'm going to show you how to do that one. I have another video also coming up, for sure it is coming up, on how to do your own DIY treat bag, like for your kids or your nephews or whatever. So those are coming up, and possibly a recipe video for an aguas frescas, for DIY terrible snacks. I figure I'd do a series of that over a very long period of time. But anyways, on to the video. Why I'm doing this. I have insomnia. I kind of get it in the summer, and it's still kind of summer around here. It's just really hot. I'm on the west side of Texas, like the far, far, far west. Might as well be fucking New Mexico, Texas. And it's just been really humid and hot because of the hurricanes. All that humidity's coming our way, which is weird because I can't stand humid weather, and the weather here is normally dry heat, so it's much more tolerable. But lately, no, honey. Anyways, I'm going off topic again. So, yeah, first jobs. You know, I was in high school. I wanted to get a job. My mom was kind of, she was pretty much against it. I would apply for places in secret. I did have some snobby high standards. I was like, I won't work in food because, I would just watch movies, and the food industry just looked not appealing to me in any shape or form. So I really just kept away from applying at those types of places. My first job ever, I was already graduated from high school. I was in college. I applied at a little locally owned Mexican restaurant. They had the sign outside the door, now hiring for hostess or whatever. So I was like, okay, I'm not cooking the food. I'm not serving the food. I could do hostess. I could sit people. So I went in there. The cashier, which I later found out she was like the girlfriend to the owner's nephew or something, she hired me like on the spot, and I remember I was so excited. I couldn't wait. I didn't even have a cell phone back then. Like, I remember I think I called my mom and I told her from my boyfriend's phone. I was just so ecstatic about being hired. I just felt so important, So yeah, so I started working there. I worked there, I would say, did I work there? Summer, early fall semester of college. I think I quit like in August or September, October, something like that. And I'll make a few references here. If you've ever seen the movie Waiting, or any other kind of parody restaurant centered movies, like the movie Waiting, if you've never seen it, it's actually really hilarious. You should go see it. The movie Waiting, I remember when I saw that after I worked at that place, I thought was so hilarious and spot on, because working in a restaurant, there's like a work culture. There's like a work culture that I I have yet to encounter that again through my life working at places. Um, which is the thing is that when you work in a restaurant, at least in my experience here, everybody seems to fuck each other, have relations. I became friends with one of the other hostesses, and we would always hang out after work with some of the other girls. Even if they were off, we would just like call each other up. We'd be like, "Hey, let's go meet at Starbucks. It's midnight." So we'd go and we'd shoot the shit, and they would just talk about all the guys they slept with at the restaurant, and it was just so funny because it really was like waiting. Now, of course, the guys try to hit up on me too, but I was with my boyfriend, future husband at that time anyway, so I was like, ew, you guys look like fucking walking diseases. I was like, no, thank you. But it was just funny, you know. Um, so, we did that. It was fine. The work was fine for for whatever I got paid. I worked like 3 days a week, 7 hours a day, and I got paid minimum wage, which I had no concept of what the fuck minimum wage was. I even wrote it like on my application when I applied to like how much do you want to get paid, and I just put minimum wage. Like, is that bad? Like, I'm so ignorant. Like, I've never worked before. I have no idea what the fuck minimum wage is. At that time, it was 5.15. So I'm getting paid 5.15. Working at that restaurant, and it was just like it would just drag. And I know that's such a baby thing to complain about. Okay, this was my thoughts as a 18, 19-year-old. Like it was just such a drag. Like the restaurants would be slow on the days that I worked, so I would just and my friends would even make fun of me. They would like draw pictures and they'd leave them at the cash register of me killing flies because I was just like notorious. When I was bored, I would just try and kill all the flies in the restaurant. So that's what I did. And then eventually, I saw a job opening for Radio Shack, which is kind of where I got this inspiration for this video from that retail apocalypse or archaeology channel. I got hired at Radio Shack, and I thought I had moved up the ladder. I was like, oh my god, this is it. I've like Radio Shack at the time. This was like 2004, 2005. Was a really cool store. So I got hired. Um, my interview attire was atrocious. Like, girl, what the fuck were you wearing? Okay, so it was like a group. They like hired you in groups. They would have hiring fairs like in groups. Like, okay, you're in group A or whatever. Come at this time. You're with all these people, and we'll test you, interview you, and we'll see if we hire you. So like I came in some shorts. Like I was already sewing at that time, so I came in that shorts. Some pinstripe pants, and I remember the pinstripe material was actually really nice, and I did a really good job on that pair of pants considering my experience in sewing at the time. So I had these really cool pants. I had some Demonia PVC knee-high boots that I wore with them. Massive platform, except, I put my pants over the top of the shoe, so you just saw like the bottom of the shoe. But they were crazy goth shoes when you saw them. They were crazy goth shoes. And I wore a V-neck sheer top, with the cleavage hanging out. Retarded, but it got me the job. So anyways, um, I worked there. I got hired as a seasonal employee from like October, and then my boss let me go in the beginning of January, which broke my heart because I actually really liked working at Radio Shack. The commission was decent. The money that I made during the holiday season was pretty damn good because um, people from, I don't know if you live in a border town or not, but a lot of times people from Juarez, like deep in Juarez, Mexico, a lot of different sects of Amish, like Mennonite people, um, they drive cars and they have cell phones and stuff, but they have a lot of money. And they would come in and they would drop like 2 G's in Radio Shack, buying the whole village or neighborhood or whatever the F you call it, the DVD players, the TVs, the radios, wiring. Like they would just buy all the electronic stuff for a home, for everyone's home apparently. And the commissions were pretty good. I enjoyed working there. And I wouldn't say I was the best employee. I'm kind of retarded. Oh, the R word. Okay, I'm just saying. Just saying. I was kind of retarded. He would just get mad at me for things that now I kind of look back and I'm like, oh, you could have just done this in. You could have done something else in the meantime. He hated when his planograms and the shelves were empty, even though I was like, at the time I was like, well, they're just empty, but I already put in the order to fill those items. I could have just moved labels and filled it up. You know what I mean? They wanted their shelves to look full at all times. So that pissed him off. I did that quite a lot. And he got so mad at me all the time. Um, like my boss was just so cheap. Um, he was constantly getting the store's vacuums fixed at like a local vacuum repair shop instead of just buying a new vacuum. He was always like, "Oh, you need to use this vacuum." He had like three of them. He's like, "Get to use this one because this one just broke and I gotta take it back to the stuff." I was like, okay, dude." And he's like, "Okay, well, it's your turn to clean the bathroom." And I'd be like, "Okay." And it was really cool. And then this was the first time in my life when I realized that I never want to work retail again during the holidays. And I'll tell you why. Two reasons. The second reason is the worst though. First was inventory. Inventory, little did I know, um, is just the devil's work. It took all day. We were just in a Radio Shack. I can't even imagine inventory if you work in like a Walmart size store. Like, fuck me running. Like, no way. Um, we had to. I remember we got there at like 8 in the morning or 9 when the store opened, and we didn't leave inventory the store until about 12:30 in the morning the next day. It was hardcore. Of course, my checks weren't that bad, but I mean, like, I was working all the time. And then, second reason why I'll never work retail during the holidays, Black Friday. Again, the devil's work. That that shit. Oh God, Black Friday. Um, Scared the shit out of me. In fact, I showed up to work about half an hour late. Like, I'm not a morning person, and he should have just fired me then. I guess this is, he was probably just tallying up the reasons to fire me when New Year's Eve came. I think I got fired on like January the 4th or the 6th. Like, I didn't even make it really that far into the new year. But I remember he told me to be there by 5:30. I get there maybe at like 5:50 or something. And I'm like, I can't even form thoughts at that time of in the morning. And then I remember it was the strangest thing. We're getting the store ready, and I look outside the door, and there's this huge line, like this huge fucking line, and people are like going like this in the window, banging on it, like, let us in, let us in. It was absolutely bizarre, and it's so stupid. People go nuts over this shit. We had some good deals on electronics, like DVD players and stuff, but people wanted these dumb little shits like these squishy M&Ms that had like an alarm clock on them. Um, just it's like little stupid things that your kid won't even care about in about 2 weeks. Like, they don't give a shit after 2 weeks. People went ape shit. So I remember the sun was rising and it was like kind of shining in my face, and I remember sitting there at the counter, me and my four other employees, and we're like, oh shit, it's about to go down. And I'm like, what? And I remember my boss went and he opened the front door, and it was like slow motion. I can't even make this up. Like, that's how slow my brain was working at that time of the day. I just could not process what I was witnessing. He opened the doors, and the double doors open, I swear, like, it was like the gates of hell. It was the gates of hell open, and all these people just fell in the store, and they were like tripping over each other trying to get these M&M alarm clocks, grabbing the batteries, getting the DVD players, all this stuff. And of course, as employees, like, I, being a complete newbie at this, I was just disgusted by capitalism, consumerism at that point. I was like, Black Friday is the fucking devil. And I've never done a Black Friday ever. Like, never. No fucking way you'll catch me on Black Friday. Maybe on the web, Black Friday, but in person, no. There's no point anymore. Retail is almost fucking dead. So that happens, right? We're there all freaking day too. Like 5:30 a.m., midnight the next day. I'm exhausted. I did make some good commissions. I remember working there. It was a nice store. I would get hit on once in a while by weird people. But other than that, it was a really nice place to work at. And I genuinely liked my coworkers. They were like really cool, funny people, especially when the boss left at the end of the evening to go home. You know, we would do our jobs, but we would talk and shoot the shit. It was like a really cool place to work at. That's why when I was fired, I was so heartbroken. I remember my boss called me, and I was at Walmart, and I had just gotten paid, and I was with my boyfriend husband. I was shopping. I was just like so happy, right? And he called me, and I answered the phone. He's like, "Hey, I'm gonna have to let you go." And I was like, "Well, hey, can I finish out?" It was like the beginning of the week. I was like, "Can I finish out my schedule at least?" He's like, "No, no, we don't need you anymore. Goodbye." Like, the dude just gave no fucks, right? So I was like, fuck. So I remember I just abandoned my cart. I was like, I'm not gonna buy all this stuff. I don't need it anymore. I'm broke. So, whatever. So from there, I was kind of jobless for like a month or so. And then I got hired as a security guard for a national security company. My husband, boyfriend at that time was working there. He got me that job. I remember my mom was so upset. She's like, "That's such a dangerous job, security." When really it isn't. Literally, if you're a non-commissioned security guard, like if you don't have a gun, you are literally a watchdog with a clipboard and a pen, because you're not allowed by the company legally or anything, unless your life is in danger, to act physically on anything. You're just there to watch and observe and report in case you need to call the police, and they do the real police work, right? Because I was just like a rent-a-cop, but I had no power. I knew what the fuck I was, but it was such a chill job. One of our contracts was at Walmart and the zoo, and I would drive that Walmart truck. It was so great. Like, I really love jobs where I'm working on my own. 8 hours, I just drive around the truck. Eventually, I bought a little portable DVD player, and I would bring my movies, and I would listen and watch movies all freaking day in that truck. Like, I worked that job for almost 8 months, and F that job. I really hated it because we had this really screwy, crazy supervisor. I mean, God. I mean, I'll sound like a total bitch trying to like talk about her, because it really will just turn into me putting this lady down, only because of a bunch of our not hate, but we just really didn't like this lady. And it was funny because at the time I lived with another set of roommates. I lived with some roommates and my boyfriend, and it was his friend and his girlfriend. So we were two couples living in this really big apartment, and three of us worked for that company. So when she was trying to call someone to cover someone else's shift, my phone would ring, and I'd be like, "Oh my God, she's calling me. Fuck that, I'm not gonna answer." And then my husband's boyfriend's phone would ring, and he'd be like, "Screw that, I'm not answering. It's my day off." And then my friend's phone would ring, and he'd be like, "Screw that, I'm not answering." So we always knew that when she called, it would come in threes, because she would call all three of us to see if we would, work someone's shift that called off. And I remember the tipping point working there, where I was done with that job. I had started looking for a job. One of the employees, family members, I believe it was like his wife's father, his mother-in-law, had passed away, and it was in the middle of a shift, and he needed to leave. And the thing about being a security guard is, like, you can't technically leave until someone comes to relieve you. Like, you can't just abandon your post. That's like, you might as well just quit. So he's like talking to this supervisor on line B. Of course, me being nosy, I switch over to line B, and I'm like listening to their conversation, and he's just like exhausted. He's like, "Oh my God, we have funeral arrangements to work out. My wife is grieving. I need to go home right now. Like, I'm about to abandon my post." And my supervisor was like, "No, no, no, you cannot do that. That's not company policy. let me see what I can do. Maybe if you work a double today and tomorrow, then you can get the next 2 days off. And poor dude, like, they paid us shit at that company, and they were always fucking up on payroll. Like, to this day, they never paid me the last 4 hours of one of my shifts. Like, it was always rolling over because for some reason, and it was always like the magic number four. 4 hours would always be missing from my check. Like, every other payroll, I would have 4 hours missing, and I'd have to go tell my supervisor or the manager at the main office, like, can payroll fix this? Because again, I'm missing 4 hours. So 4 hours was always fucking missing. So that was the first straw that almost broke the camel's back. And the one that finally broke it was the way they handled this man. He had, like he said, he had things to do, family matters to attend to, and she did not want to let him leave because she was like, that is abandoning your post, and you'll just be resigning. And she tried to make it work, work a double. And, working a double from like, maybe 7 to 7, uh, it's, it kills you. Like, it freaking kills you. Like, you get so tired. So I can't even imagine this man working a double and then having to go home and deal with the process of grieving with his family and doing funeral arrangements and doing all these things 2 days, and then I don't even know if the next day was his day off or he had to come back to work. It was ridiculous. It was a ridiculous company to work for. So eventually I quit that job to go work, and this is just when I ended up working for call centers and call centers and call centers. Now my first call center job, it was like the Radio Shack thing, going from being a hostess to Radio Shack. I felt again like, because again, with each job I had gotten, I had a pay increase, because of the level of skills or whatever. So I got paid. So this call center job at the time, the minimum wage is still $5.15. So I was getting paid $7.15. So to me, I was like, oh my god, this is a job I've been waiting for all my life. On my adult life, like these past 2 years. So yeah, I started working for this home shopping catalog. That could be, call center work could be its own freaking video. Like, honestly, the fuckery that I had to put up with, my coworkers had to put up with, pervy people, weird old ladies, racist bastards calling in, just absolutely, it was just, oh my god, the amount of stuff I put up with. But you know what, I did like that job. Again, my coworkers were so cool. I worked there, I would say in a complete total, like, almost 3 years, because I worked there for 2 years one time, and then I quit, and then another couple years later, I went back to the same company, and they rehired me, and then I worked for almost another 7 months. But by then, I was so burnt out, because call center work, even though it at first it did sound very easy, and this is just my opinion on it, like, I wish I could be those people that just go to work, and maybe it's because I have like ADHD or something. I know, don't blame it on stuff, right, Sarah? But maybe it is, because it runs my family. The repetition of just, hi, what catalog number? Hi, what catalog number? This is your total. Hi, like, saying that, I would, and we would have counters on our phone. Like, I would take 150 calls a day, roughly. I would say that like 150 times a day, and I would go home, and in the silence of just trying to calm my mind down, literally I would hear a voice in my head that would just run off by itself. Hi, your catalog number is 001484523. It's going to arrive on August 28th. And then, hi, what's your catalog number? It's going to be 9951234. Like, it was insanity. Like, I had a little motorized voice that kept going, repeating numbers when I got home from work. And it was just crazy. And if you've seen my stalker story video, that happened during the first time I worked at that job. I was living at the apartment with my future husband, and I was getting off work like at 2:45 in the morning, and then I had someone stalking me, which you can watch that video if you want to hear more about that. And then eventually I quit that job just because that repetition in my head and just sitting there, like, it drove me insane, and I started getting tendinitis or tinnitus or whatever the fuck you call it in my ears. So it literally started to like manifest physical ailments in me. So I was like, I'll never return to call center work. And then I was, for the most part, a stay-at-home mom for the next 4, 5 years or whatever. And then I went back to another call center job. I mean, literally, where I live, it's like, unless you're a fucking doctor, like, it's gonna be really hard trying to get a job, especially if you're not bilingual. So everyone just works at call centers. So I worked at another call center. This was for, I'll fucking say it, I don't care. This was for Sprint. Um, and again, coworkers were all right. We were in a big group, but I made my little friends. We had our little cliques or whatever. Being adults, I know that sounds insane if you're watching. If you're a kid, cliques never end. Okay, it's don't believe them when it goes on till you die at a retirement home. I've seen it. Um, like it was fine. Again, pay raise. I got paid more. Um, because I'm just like a good person and like I get it. Like, like computers, I get it. But again, that repetition and just the pressure after a while of having to deal with people's problems over the phone, and then many times I couldn't fix literally I couldn't fix issues. I could send out a work order, and before I sent out a work order, like a lot of times there was like a buffer person between that and the technicians. So many times I would do a work order and the buffer person would bump it back to me and say, "Oh, you didn't make them do this and that." And it was so frustrating because you would read their notes and you would see this person already reset their phone, this and that and this and that with another agent, but they want you at the current present time on that call to do that and log it before you send it out to that buffer person to send it to the technician. It was absolutely ridiculous. So I got frustrated with that just because, I'm generally a caring person and I wanted to fix these people's problems because I've had it where my cell phone doesn't work, and like your cell phone is your lifeline. People don't really have landlines anymore, so it would piss me off, and and me and my supervisor bumped heads more than once. I had an issue when I was pregnant. There, he was like talking shit behind my back in front of everybody, but luckily, my friend, my girl, she got my back and she told me, and I made um, a complaint to management, and he got in trouble. But even then, like I guess because of the privilege, I needed the job, but at the same time, if I lost the job, we wouldn't lose like our house or anything. I would just lose a job and I would have to find another one really quickly. Which again, call center work, they'll hire you like that. So so I was constantly like if he threw me shade, I would constantly throw back shade to him. Like I'd be like, "Fuck you, dude." Like like there was no professionalism in that group just because the supervisor exuded that like unprofessionalism a lot of the times, mostly because he thought I didn't do a good enough job on this, here, and that, and it was it's just like I don't care, and he was younger than me. Not that I'm against if you're my supervisor and you're younger than me, I'm gonna take offense to it, but he just had that immature mindset, like I was saying, like if he threw shade at me, I'd be like fuck you, and he'd be like, oh, you're stupid. It was retarded like that. That was the work environment I worked in. So I had no problem throwing this guy back major shade or getting him in trouble. And same with the coworkers. Like I'm just not afraid of people and their words. I have words too, and I'll use them. So eventually, I had to quit that job. Like, and it worked out perfectly because I went on maternity leave, and I was so happy when I went on maternity leave. And then I came back and there were some changes, and they're like, well, would you like to stay or would you like to quit? Because there were some major changes that happened while I was gone. And I was like, well, I'll just quit. I couldn't bear going back to work. I took my whole 12 weeks of FMLA when I got pregnant, after I had my son, and it just, that repetition and the pressure of wanting to fix people's problems. And then many times, like I said, I couldn't. It really pissed me off, and I just couldn't understand why. Maybe that's why it's not the job for me. I just couldn't understand. Like, I'm making them do this. All this other stuff is documented. They have a history of problems, but yet you cannot let my work order go to the technicians to fix something. Like, it would piss me off. So that's what I did. I understand, like you have to work hard, you have to do jobs that you don't want to do sometimes. But if there's an opportunity where you can take another job and leave your shitty job, you should definitely take it. Um, Sometimes I'll give you this advice. Sometimes the job's not worth it. Like I was saying, at the end of most of my call center jobs, I hated my job so much I would physically manifest my mental stress about the job. Like I would get IBS, I would get tendonitis in my ears. I would just get anxiety about going to work. Like I would literally, like at towards the end of this last that one sprint job, I would literally try to make myself like give myself food poisoning, so that way the next day I could call into work. Like that's how much, like that sounds psycho, right? That's how much I hated that job. So I would physically try to think of anything. Well, I know how to food poison myself. I'll lose some weight and not go to work in the process and have like a Sarah day, which I know that sounds nuts, but that's what I did. And it's just sometimes a job is not worth it. If you can afford to quit, to take some time off for yourself, because I totally believe that you need to be in a healthy state of mind mentally. If you go back, if you work in a high pressure job, you need to mentally have a holiday or a vacation. Like seriously. Um, so yeah, that's just some of the jobs that I worked. Maybe you want to write down below what were the first jobs you had, what problems. Maybe we can get a little thing going back here. Because I'm noticing I'm having subscribers. I just want to know who are you people? I'll be at 500 pretty soon. Just who are you people? Talk to me. Who are you? Just put down below like what are your favorite jobs or whatever. Um, Please again on the lookout. I will have a Goldie Hawn Death Becomes Earth tutorial coming out, DIY treat bag, and a terrible snacks coming up very soon. I'm so sorry about the delay. I had a very long, bad financial slump. I'm still going through some personal stuff right now, but I can work through this. It's I'm out of that slump. I'm in a new slump, but I'm out of the old slump with my DIY. So just be on the lookout for that. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great night. Bye bye.